Welcome back, folks. So we're on to video 3 now of the Albion engine rebuild. We're going to be fitting a few more ancillaries, the water pump, the fan and a few other bits and pieces. And yeah, we're getting it ready to go back to the owner so he can fit it into his lorry. He's keen to get it back. So sit back and relax, grab yourself that cup of tea, and hopefully you'll enjoy this little video. Hi, I'm Ross and you're watching Combat Cars. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Right, I think we're going to start with this. Try and give it a bit of a clean first and see how we get on there. Right. That gives it more access. That looks like it comes off with the pullers. I think what I'll do first is I'm going to bring this up to the parts washer and give it a good clean in kerosene. Alright, it's starting to look a little cleaner already. So the next thing to do is I'm going to remove this old gasket here. Or as much of it as I can. So the big question is, I suppose, do we strip this down and clean it properly, or do we leave well enough alone? When you strip things down, sometimes you can end up doing more damage than you do good. Make it work for yourself. The question is, how is it sealed? Obviously there's going to be a bearing in here at the bottom end, probably a bearing in here as well. And the grease nipples are designed to grease those. On a modern pump you'd probably have a seal. I'd imagine it'd be in this end here for this. And probably in that cap. And on each side of this as well. Problem with greasing bearings like that, if you have a standard oil seal in it, is you can over grease them and pop the oil seal out. And we can't really see the seal if there is one. There mightn't even be one. There could be rifling, if you like, on the shaft that's designed to pull the grease back in. Right. Right. That gives the seal a nice, or not the seal, the gasket a nice surface there. Right. So we're getting there. We're getting it cleaned up a bit. Yeah, so realistically, like, she is turning nice and smooth. So I am not expecting any, and she was well lubricated, so the bearings are going to be fine. It's only the seals that concern me, if there's even seals in there. So I think the easiest thing to do will be to remove this flange off here, which will give us access to this cover plate, which is held on with 4 nuts. So if we can pull this off with the pullers, remove this plate, and that will tell me what's going on in here, what it looks like in there. And we might not have to go any further if it's, you know, if there's not a seal in here, and it's rifling, like I said, or something like that, then the chances are it'll be the same across the board. All I really want to do is get the old grease out then, and put nice fresh grease in there. So yeah, we'll pull this flange, I think, and see what happens. Right. I hate using pullers because, not because they don't work, just because the time it takes to set them up in the ratio to what you get done is bad. Spend about 20 minutes setting the thing up and about a minute pulling it off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the nut back on here to protect the threads. I'm going to give this a slight warm. I don't want to warm it too much in case it does damage the seal if there is one, although we'll probably be changing it anyway. But yeah, I'm going to give it a warm and then I'm going to turn it over and tap it and hopefully it'll pop off. Right, we'll just try this set of standard pullers for a start. Might do the job. There you go. I think that's done it. There we go. It doesn't look like there is a seal in there. That shiny bit looks like the top of the bearing. That's exactly what it is. It looks absolutely perfect. Wasn't even a gasket in there. So after closer examination, obviously like I said before, we have no diagrams or anything of this, so what it looks like it's doing, there's no seals in this end, so there's a bearing here and possibly a bearing here, or maybe a bush that it rides in, and then there's no gasket or seal up here, and there's no gasket or seal here either. There's just this disc here is a sort of an oil slinger, or a grease slinger in this case. So what it does is just this grease nipple here pumps grease down into this void. Subsequently that lubricates both bearings, and then the excess grease just seeps out each end. Now this was the interesting thing. I didn't know what this was at first. I thought it was some kind of a bush, a carrier bush for the shaft. And I was wondering why there was grooves in it. Maybe it was so that you could slot it in different locations. Then I realised they're not grooves, so they're threads. So in actual fact this is designed to spin, to turn, which makes sense because I don't know if you can see it there, but this is part of this. So what this does is it puts a squeeze on a seal that is in here. And you tighten that up, squeezes the seal, makes a tighter seal on the shaft and stops it leaking. So I think that's the way that works. And obviously this lubricates the seal, again with grease. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to disassemble this any further because I just don't want to damage anything. Especially taking off this impeller. My experiences of removing impellers is they nearly always go and shite on me. I've cleaned it down with a bit of petrol, sorry, and that'll take all the kerosene residue off. I'm going to tape up this area a bit and try and get a bit of primer on there, a bit of paint on there. I might remove the two grease nipples just so that I can scoop out some of the excess old grease. Because once I'm finished, I'll prime it, probably put a bit of paint on it, fit it to the engine, and at that point then I can start pumping grease into these and get the old grease out and new grease in there. That one did. Got it. Right, next thing I'm going to do is make a gasket for the water pump. So we'll clean up these studs first. I'm going to get it out of this piece here. We'll see though. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's not too bad. There. Now, that's the water pump fitted. Okay. Alright, so I have cleaned and primed the drive pulley for the water pump. So I'm going to assemble that. It's actually an adjustable pulley. So this forms one side of the pulley and this forms the other half of the pulley. And as the belt wears, you can close this up on these threads and narrow the gap between the two sides of the pulley to take up the slack. And then these are in two halves, and the idea is that it threads on, and then when you tighten up this, it clamps this together, which locks it onto the thread, stops it moving. So that's how that works. I'm going to put this on here so that when I paint the pulley, I'm not going to get loads of paint on these threads. The primer doesn't really matter, it's very thin. It won't impair the threads even. So that won't make any difference to it, but I always like to put a little bit of primer on there. It just gives it, this is a bit of copper grease or anti-seize grease, which will just mean when we do come to adjust this pulley, it should adjust nice and freely. I will thread that up as far as it'll go, near enough to cover the threads. And then I can tape up whatever thread is showing at the back. That is lovely. It's quite a fine thread, so it'll take me a minute to wind it up. There, it's trying to find. I'm going to put it up in the vise, and I can see if I can get either a C-spanner to fit this, or I can punch it round. Okay. Right, so we have it in the vise, and these notches are designed for a C-spanner, what I call a C-spanner. That's this tool here. Maybe that's not the right name for it. Probably not. It's a very useful little tool. I just got this set, has 3 in the set for different sizes, and you can change this end for a pin style one, which has a hole instead of this groove, which is very useful. I'm just feeling now if it covers over the thread. That's it, that's the pulley, you can see it there now. And that allows it then to be adjusted in and out. So it's a great idea. Modern stuff isn't like that at all. Okay, there's the pulley ready done. It's been primed again, ready for the top coat to go on it. Okay, so I decided not to paint it yellow, and I was cleaning it up. I came up across these lovely copper dome-headed rivets. So I decided I'd clean back the blades, clean all the paint off the blades and the copper rivets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape up these now. I'm going to leave them like that. I'm not going to paint them yellow. I'm going to tape them up so that I can paint this metal part here. So what we have here is the magneto for the engine. This is what generates the spark with the spark plugs. And as you can see, it's pretty ropey looking. It's probably fine inside actually, but these cables have seen better days and it has this gunk all over it, whatever that is. But I'm not concerned with this at the moment. What I am concerned with is the cradle. This is the cradle that carries the magneto, and I want to clean this up, paint it up and fit it to the engine. Okay, so apologies this morning, I have my Thunderbird going. So what we're missing here is a little keyway for holding the gear wheel. There's a key slot there. Right, that's the woodruff key fitted. Now, just tap. Now. Now, that's the drive gear on. That way. I'd say that way. Looks central. Right. I think I might treat this bit of metal here with something. Right. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to heat this up with the blow lamp, get it nice and hot, and then I'm going to dip it in the oil, and that should help preserve the bit of metal. I'm not going to heat it enough that it'll temper it or anything, but It sort of sucks in the oil into the steel a little bit and helps it protect against corrosion. Sensible. I do this. But yeah, that should do it. Get a cloth now, wipe that up, and then we can fit this.